At the height of the pandemic in 2022, I decided to go from living in the city in a 300 square foot studio apartment home to a 5 acre cabin in the woods. And of course, there was a bunch of logistics that went into doing that, but ultimately, much like everyone else, I saw what was happening in the city and realized that in a state of emergency and a panic, people are not always the friendliest. But in the countryside, it's almost like people are even friendlier during times of crisis or despair. And that's just something that I wanted to participate in. Also, just like a lifetime of going outdoors and camping and hiking, I wanted to own something for myself that would be able to be passed down, be able to be sustainable, to live in a way that is different than the ordinary. And for the last couple of years, I've lived learning, growing, and adventuring in a way that just wasn't happening for me where I came from. And there's nothing wrong with the city, but living in the countryside for me is a refreshing new life. It feels like I've got a second life. I've learned all about the seasons changing, and I've learned about really having to deal with the elements from rain and sleet and snow and all of these different barriers and obstacles that have happened along the way, and getting a flat tire and learning to put chains in my car and using a chainsaw and doing repairs to well pumps and all of these other things that have been actively engaging me, like I said, that I wouldn't have otherwise experienced had I not moved to the middle of nowhere. And I just want to invite everybody to really sit down and think about what it is that they want to do for the next 20 years and or longer. And for me, that's embracing this. One of the things that also happened when moving here was that I went into kind of like a shock. I almost felt like like a visitor, and in time with working on the land and raising chickens and having pets and different stuff like that, I've become part of this place, and this place has become part of me. It's really interesting that we all kind of maybe at a new job or a new school or at a pivotal points in our lives feel this sense of a paradigm shift, an identity shift, and sometimes we don't cope with it very well because the schema that we have for ourselves or the identifiers that we placed on ourselves tell us that we are on a trajectory to something, and we've always been a certain way, and you don't have to be that. You can change anytime you want. You can grow and develop and become a different person if you'd really like. You can pick up and move. I moved 545 miles away from where I come from. Most people only move 10 miles away from their original place that they grew up at, and it's a shame because there's so much to explore, and your family and your friends, they're rooting for you. If you could just do a courageous thing, they're going to be so happy for you, and I'm going to be happy for you. Well, think that about summarizes